Um, Thank you very much, Atanas, and thanks to everybody who has joined us today. So this is the second in our series of webinars around Adventure Europe, which is an online event we'll be talking about later. That's coming up in November. The theme today is around artificial intelligence. And there are a number of other themes coming in as well, but that's going to be the theme in part one. For those who don't know much about the Adventure Connection, we are a marketing and representation agency. We have over 5,000 contacts on our database, and those are mainly tour operators, DMCs, media, tourist boards, airlines, and so on. There's a lot of trade knowledge in the room at the moment, and we're all about connecting fantastic experiences around the world with the marketplace. We have an amazing team, and I just want to do a quick shout out to them. Several of them have joined us today. Give us a wave if you are there, and perhaps say hi in the chat
Hi.
as well from our team. We are partnering this webinar with ETOA, the European Tourism Association. Lucy Hansard, would you like to say hi and just say a few words about ETOA and also about our event coming up later in the year?
Hi, everyone. Of course, hello. I'm Lucy. I'm from ETOA, the European Tourism Association. So if you're not familiar with us yet, we are a trade association that supports tourism professionals in facilitating the inbound tourism into Europe. We offer a wide range of networking opportunities, and we also organize B2B workshop in person or online. So this will be the second edition of Adventure Europe Marketplace and our collaboration with the Adventure Connection. The workshop will take place, as Mark said, in November, on the 18th of November online. And we really think that every one of you should attend because, yeah, you are obviously very interested in adventure tourism. And so last year we have connected 60 European suppliers with 60 international buyers over a half day of pre-booked one-to-one meetings. So this will be exactly the same format this year. What I wanted to say, yes. So if you have any question about event format or if you'd like to secure your place, you can visit our website at etoa.org, or you can also reach out directly to the ETOA team or the Adventure Connection team. We also have some exciting partnership opportunities available for our events. So if you want to enhance the visibility of your company during the events, it's also possible. So you can check that on our website as well. Yeah, that is it for me.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Lucy.
you.
And Beth, perhaps you could put a link in the chat for everybody for the Adventure Europe marketplace. Bit of housekeeping. I know the majority of people will be very familiar with using Zoom, but if not, please use your mute button to stop any background noise, bottom left of your screen. And use the chat function as well, just to say hi now. Where are you today? Your name, your company, and use it for questions as well. So, and we'll keep an eye on those questions during the course of the webinar. So our agenda, I'll start off by doing some introductions to our panelists. There's two parts to the webinar. Initially, we'll be looking at AI, threat or opportunity. Part two will be on some trends shaping adventure travel. And then a look ahead and some key takeaways from today's webinar. And we'll just say a little bit more about that marketplace at the end too. And we aim to finish by 3 o'clock. So, and I will try to keep things moving as we go through. So I'd like to welcome our panelists, Alex from Audley Travel, Head of Product there. He will introduce himself in a moment. Alistair, co-founder of Flea Winter and also of Vamoose. Zal, and I won't attempt to pronounce your surname if you don't mind, Zal, co-founder of Wandero, and Jed from Low Season Traveller, and myself, founder of the Adventure Connection. So in no more than 60 seconds, please, Alex, would you just say a few words about yourself and about Audley Travel in case anybody out there hasn't heard of Audley?
Yes, okay. Thanks, Mark. Hi, everyone. Well, I'm not sure if you have all heard of Audley, but if you don't know, we are a specialist tour operator with offices in the UK and in the US. We're actually one of the largest tailor-made tour operators, and we arrange travel to over 100 different destinations around the world. And my role is to oversee our product and commercial function. So I have an excellent team based in our three offices in Witney, in Oxfordshire. Some of you may know some of my team. We have a team in London, and we have a team over in Boston in the US, which is where I am this week. And we manage an extensive supply chain of DMCs, of direct hotels, excursion providers, car hire companies, and all the various services you might expect. We contract and maintain a very comprehensive range of products, over 15,000 hotels, 20 thousand excursions. We set our pricing strategy. We're responsible for the purchasing and commercial strategy, but probably the best bit of the role is that we are responsible for the development of new and exciting product. And I like to think that we've got some great stuff. I've been with the business a long time. I've been in this role 10 years. Yikes.
Congratulations.
Look forward to talking to you.
Great. Okay, thank you very much, Alex. And I know Audley are also, I guess, at the forefront of developing AI, and I'm sure that will come out as well during the course of the discussion. Over to you, Alistair, in no more than 60 seconds.
Hi, everybody. Great to be here. And thanks, Mark, for bringing us along. Yeah, I've got a bit of a mixed bag. I suppose I'm a serial travel entrepreneur. No Elon Musk, unfortunately, but I have dip my fingers in plenty of pies. I started in travel 20-something years ago. I founded Flea Winter, a little tour operator, a bit like Audley, except about 1,000th of the size, but much better product and service, of course. And from there went on to spin out a number of different businesses. I run a couple of hotels in Morocco, so I see it from the accommodation owner side. And then I have some yachts in Greek islands, one of which is on the picture there. And then but now most of my day, sort of 3 or 4 days of my week, is focused on Vamoose, which I co-founded some 10 years ago now. And Vamoose, for those of you who don't know it, is a concierge app to aid travel. So you guys can book the holidays, then Vamoose adds the wow, makes it really exciting for the punters right from the minute they book up through their trip and indeed afterwards. And I'm going to be talking with all my hats on, but probably mostly the Vamoose one, because that's where we get heavily into the travel tech side of things.
Great. Thank you very much. And moving on swiftly to Zal, who comes from very much an AI background. Over to you, Zal.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining. And my last name actually pronounced as it's written. So my name is Zal Gajetiladze, and I've been around like 15 years already in tech startups, founding tech startups. And one of my first startups was actually mapping startup, and then I moved to founding this AI startup, which I was really the CTO of, and that startup automated automotive industries, dealerships coming in leads, which we worked, and at the end we scheduled appointment all automatically. So that was my kind of beginning of my AI career. That was 2017, and we sold that company in 2021. It was a pretty good outcome. And now I am part of Wandero, which actually does really the similar things, but on the backside of the things, right? So top funnel, ending with DMC operational part, in which we automate kind of like desk jobs, if you will. So we're started just last year, over 1 year already that we started, and we have a couple of customers that are very happy, and we're very excited to move on and actually transform travel industry with our product.
Great. Thank you very much, Sal. And I've seen the software in action. It is phenomenal. And yeah, very, very exciting. We will be running another webinar next month, very much focusing on this, but it's quite incredible what the capability of kind of a combination of CRM software and reservation software driven by AI. I've also, we've been using the Vamoose app over a number of years now for our fam trips and with interactive maps and itineraries and so on, so that the tour operators that we take overseas on fam trips have everything on their phone whilst they're traveling. So moving on, last but not least, Jed, again, in less than a minute, your background and a bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi everybody. Great to be here, and thank you very much indeed for the invite. My name's Jed Brown. I've been in the global travel industry for about 30 years now, which is kind of embarrassing. In 2018, I founded the world's first organization entirely dedicated to the promotion of the low season experiences around the world. And as such, we help tourism authorities, destinations, hotels, operators to promote their services to a dedicated audience of low season travelers. We have a magazine, a consumer magazine, which is printed and also digital. We have podcasts, both B2B and B2C, which have a combined total audience of 150,000 listeners in 128 countries around the world. And we just launched yesterday our third annual Tourism Seasonality Summit, which will be held in Rimini on the 17th and 18th of May next year, which is where the leaders from airlines, airports, tourism authorities, tour operators, hoteliers, crews, all get together to discuss, share insights and share knowledge on cracking the seasonality challenge worldwide. And that's it in a nutshell. That's about a minute, right?
Very, very interesting, and I think very topical at the moment, as over tourism and climate change all kind of have an impact and see us all moving towards low season travel. Okay, so thank you very much for those short introductions, and I'd like to move into the first part now of the webinar. And as we discuss AI, we hope to bring out some of the aspects like the efficiency and innovation that AI can bring, personalization, but also the risks and the ethics around all of this, and obviously the impact that it can have on marketing, distribution, commercialization, and so on. So I'm going to ask some questions to our panelists in a moment, but you should see a poll on your screen now. While we're answering these first few questions, if you could all please answer the poll, and then we'll launch the results in a few moments. So I'm going to ask questions of our panelists who may be trying to multitask, answering the poll at the same time. But let's look at particularly AI opportunities around adventure tourism, and particularly in Europe where possible. I realise that some of our tour operators here are worldwide operators, so if you have examples from outside of Europe, that's fine. But if we can relate it to Europe wherever possible, that would be great. So first question I'm going to ask to Alex. What's the most promising way that AI could make life easier for adventure travel businesses in Europe? So from a tour operator point of view, how do you see that?
Well, we certainly see it as an exciting opportunity, Mark. And I imagine, like the other panelists, we see it as a kind of supporting function to the way that we currently work with our partners and with our customers to augment a lot of our ways of working rather than necessarily replace everything. I think in a high touch, high trust sector like adventure tourism or global tourism, I think it's important that I think human touch kind of remains central, given that it's able to provide a slightly different level of accuracy than AI. But certainly AI helps us surface insights a bit faster. It's been very interesting as we've got to sort of use it a little bit more frequently over the last 6 months to see how we can summarize client feedback in my team, how we can tag certain products and understand themes a lot more quickly. So I think from an adventure tourism perspective, understanding customers' needs and requirements more quickly and more accurately in conjunction with existing human knowledge and human interaction is a good combination, and I think will provide a kind of best of all worlds solution. But it very much depends on the data that you add into it, of course, in order to ensure that what you're getting out of it is useful.
Yeah, very interesting. And yeah, I guess the customer feedback side of it, that's not something I'd considered previously. So that's a very interesting take too. Zal, can I come to you on this and I've had the advantage of having seen your software in action. What do you see as being and I can't give you the opportunity to demo your software today, but that will be for another time. But how do you see this question? How do you think it can make life easier?
Well, what I always say is that it's the technology, right? So any technology makes our lives a little bit easier. And AI is not really an exception in regards to making our lives easier, because it actually makes every bit of effort to save ourselves like many hours of time, right? So in our regards, how we're approaching this is that we're automating the things that actually people don't want to do anymore. So the parts of their lives, their businesses, which are mundane and takes too much time, and really their desire is to scale up and they're unable to. And every bit of opportunity that they had during the history of technology, they leveraged that. And of course, they will leverage AI in any way possible to make their lives easier. For example, in automotive industry, what we did was that so salespeople were responding to every question that the leads were asking, and then they had like little time actually interacting physically, meeting people, and then they had more time because of the technology, right? And it's going to be the same. For example, adventure travel professionals would prefer to spend more time on the field, doing the experiences with their clients, or discovering more of the experiences that are out there, designing those experiences, and then putting into the process which AI could handle, and be able to serve much more of the customers that they would like to serve. So, of course, that's win-win for everyone. It's not just as any of the technology in the history of humankind, really.
Yeah, that's interesting, and perhaps that is a particular challenge for adventure travel suppliers, particularly the smaller companies who sometimes are out in the field leading tours, dealing with clients, etc., and don't have the time to be in the office. Again, having seen your software, I've seen how you allow for that human interaction, but let AI do the work, which is a bit more mundane. And I mean, I'll just stay with you for a moment, Zal, and just on the next question. Do you see this as a tool mainly for small operators, or, AI mainly for small, or is it only for large, or does that matter?
I think that doesn't matter a little bit, but of course, for smaller operations, there would be an opportunity to do more of the things that they would like to do, and it's an opportunity to scale up and leverage their own knowledge and their expertise to serve more of the upstream lead providers. So yeah. And for bigger ones, that's an opportunity. I guess you're referring mostly to the outbounds, and that's the opportunity to serve really the top funnel leads more efficiently and be able to tailor those connections to their and be able to proactively work with those customers on a customer basis and really get to know them on the scale and be able to dedicate more time, hands-on time to the people that they see as more impactful and really don't let the bottom part of the funnel just fall into the cracks and we serve them well as well. So yeah, I don't think that's really anyone could be able to find their own leverage, their own way to leverage AI. Doesn't matter big or small, but really big, like smaller ones would be able to optimize their limited resources more with AI and not be able to depend too much or on the large OTAs that happen to eat up all of their margins pretty much, and I know that they're very unhappy with that. So they want to be more independent and not depend too much on OTAs. So that's, I guess, the opportunity as well.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Alistair, how do you see this? I guess, relating to both of these questions, what's your take on this from either of your hats?
Yeah, no. Well, it's all of them together, to be honest. This is, I mean, it's an absolutely enormous opportunity, and I'm sure your listeners, you're probably getting a bit fed up of hearing how AI is going to be a major opportunity. We've been hearing it now for 18 months or 2 years, I guess, since the first versions of ChatGPT. But it is absolutely coming. I can guarantee there are some amazing tools. I'm not familiar with Zals, but like that are coming down the tracks that will make life an enormous amount easier. Imagine, all of you out there, you will work with a range of accommodation suppliers. Imagine that your listing of that accommodation supplier is automatically updated with the latest photos, the latest info. You don't get the situation where a customer turns up and find, the photos you've been using to say are out of date and that pool was closed some time ago or whatever it is. There are those sort of really practical changes that are coming on, and the bottom line is, as an industry, the whole, I don't know, I'm not an adventure specialist, but as a looking at the whole sort of tailor-made industry, a travel organizer based industry, we are extraordinarily inefficient. The systems we use are outdated. The admin processes are pretty horrific, and in many ways, it's amazing that we as a sector even exist when you look at the advances of the OTAs and the Airbnbs and things like that. So I'm absolutely seeing AI as a real chance to fight back and help. And it's going to be really interesting. I mean, looking at the bigger guys like Audley, that I think in some ways, I'm not sure they've got as much to win as the smaller guys have in that sense, and they've got some pretty good systems in place already. They've been able to, they had the economies of scale to put in the systems to keep their product catalog absolutely up to date in a way that the smaller guys haven't been able to, and that's changing. So I think the bigger benefit is definitely going to be for the smaller operators, as long as we, the providers, give those tools in an easy to use way that isn't an enormous migration task. And that's certainly what we see we're doing at Vamoose. We've already got AI products within Vamoose, but we've got a whole stream, starting next week, of new systems coming out that you can use on their own, or you can plug them in simply, or to other systems. So it's an exciting time ahead, and I hope I don't come back in a year and you say, oh, it's always Jin Jam tomorrow with AI. But I think absolute revolution is coming down the tracks.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I'm just going to keep this moving, and Atanas, can I ask you to launch the results of the poll? I assume we've had a good number. So it looks like most of you are seeing that it's an opportunity. Well, actually, most are saying it's both. So that's an interesting one. Second question: how do you think AI could improve your business operations? Most people saying yes, it will. So that's interesting, that there's not as much fear perhaps as there was a year ago on that. I'm only seeing 2 questions on my screen there, Atanas. Was that all we asked? I can't remember.
No, there was 4, Mark.
Roll up and down.
Maybe do I need to scroll, or do you? I think you might need to scroll. Oh, there we go. So I am scrolling. Apologies. So do you currently use AI for your business? We've got occasionally there 28%, 45% are regularly using the free tools. Not so many of you using ChatGPT Plus, Jasper, Midjourney, etc. at the moment. And then there are just 4 out of 47 saying that it's embedded significant company-wide integration. So those are interesting stats, and I guess that is like a typical funnel that will eventually fill up towards the bottom as more people adopt it. And
All right for you. Yeah. Oh, let me just check I'm muted. Hold on. Oh, no.
Okay. So, and have you considered AI for managing trade event participation? Looks like most of you know. And yeah, that's a question that may well come up a little bit later on how it could be used to assess meetings, prepare for meetings, and prepare presentations. So I'm going to, I think they've all been shared already. Atanas, you might need to do something there if not. So what do you see as the biggest threat that AI poses to our industry right now? I'll come to you, Jed, first on that one. What do you see as a threat?
I think there's a few different threats. I will say I'm kind of a power user on AI, so I'm really shocked on the results. By the way, this less than 30% of people are paying for AI. I find that absolutely incredible. I'm amazed because it's not particularly expensive, and it can massively help your business efficiently. And I say that as a micro business myself. AI for me has been a game changer. In terms of the threat that AI poses to, I suppose, the wider travel industry as well as the adventure sector, I think if it's used in the wrong way and used as a sort of a gap between us as the operators and the end users, and that's the concern that I have. I think we've probably all had meetings, online meetings on Zoom and otherwise, where straight away it says that this is being recorded for an AI note taker. And I've started saying to people, look, do you want to have an open conversation and build a relationship with me? Or do you want to have a very guarded version of Jed who's going to watch every word he says because he knows AI is taking notes on absolutely everything? Because I'm going to have to be a lot more guarded then. So it's your choice. Do you want the relationship with me and we can have a nice, cool, easygoing conversation? Or do you want all business? I'm going to be very guarded. And it's that kind of a barrier between the end consumer and ourselves that we need to really be careful of as we're implementing AI. So I think that to me is one of the threats that I do see.
Yeah, and that's an interesting. And I mean, as a company policy, we tend to sort of make sure we ask people before we use AI notes, and I think it's kind of a courtesy. It's almost like pointing a camera in somebody's face and saying, "Do you mind if I take a photograph?" You wouldn't just do that and put a photograph or set a record button. So yeah, I think that there's a courtesy thing there that needs to come in. Um, what about how we balance the efficiency with which I'm using ChatGPT Plus. I've been using it for a couple of months and I'm finding it pretty amazing what it can do. But what about balancing the personal side? Some people hate AI. I know at least one person on this call, and I won't name names, but some people hate it and just don't want anything to do with it because it's not human. How do we balance that? I'll go to Alex on that because I know you're bringing it into company procedures, but how do you keep that human element too?
Yeah, you're right. We're bringing it into some of our CRM processes as well as some of our product catalog ways of working as well. Well, the human personal side of what we do is critical in building that rapport with clients, and I think we've had to invest heavily in data quality because we've seen how generative AI can be wrong. It returns what is statistically likely rather than what might be actually accurate. And we try to make sure that our customers are conscious of that and still see the value in talking with a human, with a person about the nuances of traveling to some of these different destinations. And actually complexity is our friend in that regard. The more complex the travel arrangements, the better quality advice we're able to provide. And I think that's our value. And I'd imagine it's the same for a lot of people on the call.
Yeah, I do find that, as I continue to use AI, it does get it right more often, but you still have to check what it presents to you. And I think the danger, perhaps, is that as we continue to use it, we stop checking it. It's a bit like looking up something on Wikipedia. You think it's always right, but that can be wrong too.
Yeah, and our approach has been to treat it like a child. You have to really take it through step by step what you want it to do. And from a consumer perspective, they don't need to see that behind the scenes, but we need to overlay that with human knowledge, human interaction to provide the very best service and hopefully the best results.
Yeah, yeah. Um, So, I mean, is there a case for positive impact in tourism through AI rather than over commercialization? Everybody's looking at it from an efficiency point of view, and it should speed up the turnaround of inquiries and all of those kind of things. But is there we very much promote sustainable tourism, positive impact as an organization. Where, is there a way that AI can be a force for good as well? I'll go to Zal on this one first.
Um, yeah, so first of all, I would like to touch upon the previous question a little bit. So I think we need to realize what is AI right now and what it could be. And today, for example, right now what we're discussing is mainly personal tools that we're using as AI, for example, ChatGPT or Claude or what have you. But as opposed to that, there's also the things that you could implement company-wide, right? So, and those kind of things will pop up like mushrooms. So like they're going to be all over the place. Not only personal AI, and like for example, like a couple of months ago, or something like that, AI was didn't have the tools that it has right now. For example, deep research or web search, those kind of things. really what differentiates personal level AIs and what is sophisticated and like tailored to the actual vertical that is supposed to handle is what kinds of tools it has at its disposal. For example, right now, for example, our software uses mapping, spatial analysis, pretty much because I'm coming from like I've built a mapping startup back in the day, and I know how things could be planned to actually route and connect spatially relevant things. And on top of that, if you have relevant data gathered from the customer, you already have everything at your disposal to actually plan the itinerary by AI. But if you don't have that and you kind of layer that on top of your personal AI, it's going to come up with every sorts of statistically, plausible things that it could say. That it could like, sound nice, but it would not be grounded in reality. So that's one thing. And another thing is that, of course, it's going to be used in bad ways and good ways, as any of kind of technology, right? For example, internet was supposed to be like it was invented during the World War because they needed to like ways to communicate and like different kinds of connections. If one failed, another would be also rerouted. And those kind of things are, technology, doesn't matter how it was invented, it's going to be used in a good way or a bad way. It's just like, our guardrails and things that we're implementing is something that defines that. So, in terms of over commercialization, I think the AI has become so approachable, so cheap in very short amount of time, is that very much the people they're inventing things on top of that because it's so easier to do those things. That's not going to be something that is going to over commercialize something. We can see how prices of AI fallen down quite a bit over 2 years or so. And of course, I'm positive that it's going to impact positively every bit of our life. And I would also say that, you would not trust your very, very impactful connections, human connections, with a first hire, like junior person. And you would not let them communicate with your most high level trade partners, right? You would first kind of onboard them and make sure that it works for you the way you want it, and then you over time, um, you know, uh, let them do more. That is how you approach AI, and most of the positive things about really SaaS kind of AI, agentic AI, and software that does work for you is that they're able to accommodate the things that define you and the things that actually sets you apart. And whatever it learns about more things about you is going to be involving you, of course, in the beginning, but then you'll be able to uh, let it do more and more. But that's comes with stages.
Okay, that's interesting. And some of you may be aware of Mo Gawdat and his book Scary Smart, where he was head of Google X and comes with a very interesting point of view on AI. But he says that we've got to train it. We've got to train it manners. We've got to train it to be good. And it is like you said. It's like you bring a junior into the office, and you've got to train them and teach them how your ethics and your systems and so on. So we talked, Jed, you mentioned about using AI behind the scenes. Is transparency important? I guess I guess you've already said that you think it is important. Alistair, do you have a view on that?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, and I'm not sure it depends on what level it is. If you're really behind the scenes, then no, I don't believe travellers do mind. They want their expert travel advisor to use whatever tools you've got at your disposal to get the best possible result for get the best possible result for them. And I think that's for me what going back to the previous question, what AI is all about. It's allowing those high value consultations or tour leaders to be able to focus on those bits where the human interaction is close to irreplaceable, and to not do the other stuff, to leave behind the other stuff in that sense. And so I don't think that's a big worry. I think it's a big problem. Going back to the other previous question on the over commercialization, is that when people are using AI to plan itineraries themselves, for example, to search things, certainly at the moment we're at very lowest common denominator level. It's all the same things are just being echo chambered up. So you're getting this intensity behind the tick box tourism sites and the suppliers that have happened to been getting a good rating. I think that's a big learning, certainly, that AI is very good at serving up the vanilla, but with great authority, I have to say, as well, and beautifully written prose in a way that gives that authority. So I think there is certainly fear there, but as soon as you put the human in the chain of communication, you break that, and you break that worry. You put in a layer of trust that is earned 99% of the time in that sense.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Very, very interesting. I'm gonna keep things moving along, but regulation. We've had an announcement yesterday that there's 30 billion pounds or dollars worth of investment coming into the UK in terms of AI, and I did notice on the news last night that that the government were very quick to say that they will be looking at regulation, because people may be worried about that. Should there be regulation? If we had time to do another poll, I would do another poll, but perhaps those of you who are listening could just put your comments in the chat on this. Should there be regulation, or would that be a barrier? I'll come to you, Alex, on that one.
I guess that there would need to be protection, existing protection around consumer data. You'd expect that to be in place, wouldn't you? And maybe regulation about implementation of AI from a finance or a commercial perspective. But I think there's what we're talking about, certainly at Audley, and sounds like some of the other panelists are talking about, is a slightly softer usage that complements the way we work. So in our industry, in the travel industry, I wouldn't think that anything beyond current regulations would be of immediate need. We're looking at back office functionality with AI rather than anything that is direct consumer facing. So I don't know, I guess, Mark, is my honest answer. I think in our sector, though, I'd like to think it's a service aid rather than anything that's going to fundamentally change the way we operate.
Yeah, and I guess my view on this is there's probably not a particular need for regulation until there's a problem. We could preempt all sorts of, or we could try to predict all sorts of problems because it's moving so fast.
Yeah.
Maybe it's better to wait to see what does come of it. I don't know. It's an interesting one. Anybody, other panelists, got a view on this one before I move on?
Yeah, I would like to mention about, so think about the regulation is like it actually stifles the innovation and adoption, right? So if you could imagine, for example, ChatGPT becoming more and more like a super app and serving more and more people and be able to connecting with the DMCs directly and asking them questions, delivering them whatever their customers want, And then that's going to be some really big challenge for outbounds. And if, for example, if European DMCs would not be able to adopt as quickly as some other countries, then they're not going to be able to leverage that as much as someone else, for example, Americans. And that is something that I think, Americans kind of came up with. They would kind of regulate, and then Europeans got hold of that idea and then started to do that, and then Americans abandoned that. I mean, there is something that should be very cautiously thought about. And it's something that is really making really big strides, this technology, and it's making it a revolution, and something that like really is a barrier to entry and usage for the companies, not the personal level, but the company level. That is something I think should be taken with a grain of salt. That really not rush doing that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to move on to just a quick roundup on AI before we move on to our second sort of topic. Lessons learned from AI. Alex, can I get you to start on this one? Do you have a story, and it can be either successful or cautionary, where you've applied AI in your business that you'd like to share?
Yeah, okay. I think it's fairly obvious one around some content that didn't quite come out as we expected. But we've been trialing some generative AI tools to support some of our content. We have a lot of content at Audley that goes out to our customers, and as I was mentioning earlier, it very much depends on how you shape and frame the software in order to get the right kind of content accuracy off the other side. And in some of the trials that we ran, we were focused on a couple of destinations. One of them was Japan. We had asked the AI tool to pull together some content for some of our excursions and to produce that in a manner that was similar to our existing way of presenting information. And it came out with some real inaccuracies, and it was only through actually reading it carefully and making sure that we were cross-referencing it with our own knowledge and the supplier information that we spotted it, because it does present very well and it does come with an authority. So yeah, fortunately the trial identified some of those errors, but if we'd have sent that out to customers, we'd have certainly had some negative feedback, I think. So yeah, cautionary tale in terms of checking the content.
Yeah. I think we internally here do have that as a kind of an internal policy that we do say to each other, this is AI generated, please double check it. What about you, Alistair? Any stories to share, either good or bad?
Yeah, can I be? I don't know if this is going to work. No, okay, I was going to show a really super quick demo of the bit of AI that I'm most proud of we've developed about a year ago. In that, when you're building a trip within Vamoose, it's very image heavy, and you need to select an image to go with each stage of the trip, each activity, or each part of it. And we developed an AI behind the scenes that just overnight replaced that choose an image from your folder or library through to here's the image you should use. It went into your library, it used context, it picked the image, it suggested it, and you just had to click on it. And we had people literally that no one knew about the launch. We just launched it without telling people. And we had users calling up and said, "You've just saved 20% of my day." Choosing the imagery used to take forever. And that for me, it's a year old now, and we've got things that I'm most proud of our use of AI. It's a genuine, not changing what you're doing, just making it better and faster, and enabling you, the consultant in this case, to focus on your genuine human interaction of designing the trip and communicating the trip, not doing the admin.
Yeah, that's a great example. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna move on with. There's so much to talk about there. This could have been several hours long, I think, for AI, but I'm gonna have to wrap that up because I do want to talk about some of the other trends. Obviously, AI is probably one of the biggest thing being talked about, but let's look at some of the other aspects. And Jed, I'd like to bring you in here as our leading expert. You could probably be the leading worldwide expert on low season travel, being an innovator here. What do you see, or why is low season travel such a critical issue for destinations in Europe?
This question is the crux of why I set up my organizations focused on this. It's down to the simple, pretty much fact of the matter that tourism is set to double in the next 20 years. And it always surprises me how so few people in our industry genuinely understand the reality of that. First of all, understand that it's happening. That's not just a prediction by Jed at Low Season Traveller because he's got a vested interest. This is stuff from the World Economic Forum. It's from the Brookings Institute, different think tanks. It's from the United Nations. All of them are saying exactly the same thing. It's a doubling of tourism. And then I look at the aviation side of things, and the world's airlines are looking to basically double their fleet size in the next 20 years. And again, if you want the evidence of this, go on the Airbus website or the Boeing website and have a look at their 20-year projections. They're planning to double the number of flights. So all of that is leading us to a stage where in the next 20 years, we've got another 1.5 billion international travelers who are going to need to travel in destinations like Europe, and especially Europe, where we're already bursting at the seams in many of the destinations, and we're seeing the tourist protests and everything else. And that's a really big challenge. A lot of this is also being driven by the rapidly growing middle class in Asia. In India alone, I think there's going to be another 780 million more join the middle class in the next 10 years alone. Do people understand the implications of this? That's 780 million people in the next 10 years who, for the first time, have disposable income to spend on things like travel. And the places that they want to go to, Europe. I mean, they've heard about all of our fabulous destinations in Europe for many, many years, and they've dreamt about traveling to Europe. So it's a great opportunity. But for me, it's look, we need to not cram them in the same 6 months where we're already creaking at the seams. But in many destinations, we have up to 6 months where we're pretty much quiet. We've got hotels running at 20% occupancy. Surely the most sustainable thing we can do is to shift travelers into the low season months where the experiences are amazing. They're less crowded. It's less stressful. It is cheaper, although I don't think we should ever focus on that. But it's that the issue is going to be more pressing as we get more and more of the global middle class from Asia joining the ranks, and as more and more people are taking multiple trips a year.
Yeah. And so, same question to you, or so different question to you, Jed. How can operators and DMCs build, and I guess you've already answered why, but how can this be done? And I will come to Zal on this in a moment too.
For me, I think the first thing that you have to do is take weather out of the equation and take your assumptions out of the equation. I think adventure travel is just such a great niche because it's a perfect low season niche, because the main purpose for travel of an adventure traveler is not the weather, it's the experience. They're locked in on the experience, and therefore you're not constrained by weather, and weather is pretty much the number one challenge with regards to seasonality. So I would say that the adventure sector operators in particular have got a real advantage there, so long as, not to say they don't talk about the weather, but so long as they focus on the experience. And I think they need to be honest about the kind of experiences that they can have during those low season periods as well. You know, you have to be honest, but you have to sell the massive advantages that go along with that too.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I think the other factor that the adventure travelers want is just getting away from the crowds and getting away from other people. So it does play into that. So Zal, can AI help us to? I know we're going back into AI here, but can that actually help with promoting low season travel?
There's two parts, I think, to this. One part is that everyone in AI era should be concerned with building their user profiles and managing those and leveraging those for their marketing. So they're not going to be depending on their trade partners to give them all of the leads that they need. They need to develop their own strategies to go out to their customers, to their repeat customers, and offer what they actually have whether it's low season or not, but especially in this regard, that revolves around low season. Another part is that the technology, especially AI, especially the one that operationally supports you and takes out the bunch of the operational part, admin part, helps you scale up and down from high season to low season. So I know that many DMCs are struggling hiring people, especially young people, who then they tend to rotate and go on and off. So they need to train them all over and over again. So that's a problem. So AI actually helps you scale up and down as you go.
Yeah.
You would like with any kind of software that serves you, and you're
Yeah.
paying for how much you use. So that is like two parts, I think, that feel leveraged on the DMC side, especially. Yeah, those two main parts, I think.
Great. Okay, thank you. We're running a little bit late, so I'm going to keep this moving as fast as I can. Alex, I know you said you've got to be on another meeting as soon as we hit 3 o'clock UK time. So can I come to you first, and then if you need to drop out, then we will. You are very much excused. So, anything new? Any new consumer behaviour emerging at the moment?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Yeah, we're seeing a few interesting trends. Well, actually, to that point about low season travel, fortunately, we are seeing consumers open to the idea of traveling where there are less crowds. It's not easy, is it? But in some destinations, if you do travel a month or two later or a month or two earlier, you can have a very, very different experience. And that hasn't always been the case. So I think some of the messaging around over-tourism is cutting through. And some of our customers are open to that idea because of the negative impact that traveling in peak season and negative impact, not just on their experience, but locally, I think is having. So that has been a welcome change because we're able to find better availability. Our partners are very keen on that because, of course, it extends their season. So that's one trend. We see slightly different trends out of the US to the UK. The spend levels from both markets, however, are increasing. So although there's plenty going on in the world from a geopolitical standpoint, I think our sector, which I think by anyone's standards would be high end, continues to grow, and that sector of the industry seems to be very, very robust and resilient. I appreciate that's not necessarily applicable for everyone on the call, but there's plenty of people out there who see travel as a kind of a fundamental right, and something that they want to do. So the average booking value at Audley is continuing to increase.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you. And Alistair, can I ask that same question of you? anything new emerging from a tour operator perspective?
No, just backing up what Alex has said. To be honest, as I say, putting my Fleet Winter hat on, we're seeing very robust order value in that sense, including a couple of sort of record order value bookings well into six figures, which is always nice to see. So that's very encouraging. There is this confidence, there's this desire to do great things, which is always good to see. And I'm also watching pretty closely some of the web traffic type figures as well, just to see whether we're certainly hearing that the Wikipedias of this world are seeing an absolute crash in volume as AI takes over, and travel organizers, which are sort of informational sites, intermediate sites, keeping a very close eye on that, and so far nothing visible on that as well, which is encouraging, and I think talks to the robustness of our sector. But we've still got stuff to sort out in our gardens for sure.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you. So there's a bit of a word cloud there on some of the other trends. We are doing a market survey of UK tour operators in the coming week or so, next week. So we'll be looking for things like coolcations, destination dupes, and so on. I'm conscious of time, but I'm going to do one final question on positive impact tourism, and just ask the panel how organisations like ETOA, B Corp, which we're applying for at the moment, the Long Run, and other organisations can play a part in shaping this future. Alistair, do you have a view on this from your perspective?
No, it's really interesting, and we do a lot of for the last almost since the first few years of Fleet Winter, we've raised money to support. We have some programs we run in sub-Saharan Africa, and some of the most sort of poorest and underprivileged people in the world, and it's a real pleasure to do it. And we position it very clearly, so an amount per booking goes towards that. It's never part of our marketing. It's tucked away in the background. It's not part of it, but we know our customers love it. And just as a sort of little bit of a hygiene factor, a bit of a reassurance, and travel is a force for good. I think adventure travel probably more so than anything else, because it doesn't just add the travel element, it adds the experience element as well. And sure, we have a big hangover, particularly with those horrible flights, and in that sense that we all have to deal with in our consciences in that sense. But don't get you down. Travel is a global force for good, and the more we can do it, the more sharing of community around the world, the more we can attack some of these problems we're seeing in the news every day.
Yeah. Okay. Final question. I'm going to go to you first, Jed. Fast forward 5 years, what do you think will have changed most in our industry, apart from everybody traveling in the low season and avoiding the high season? That way, will the high season become the low season?
Do you know what? It's interesting. Fast forward 5 years, what do you think will have changed most in our industry, or what do I hope will have changed most in our industry? What do I think will change in the industry? I honestly, I can't begin to imagine, because the speed of AI over the next 5 years is going to be it's going to blow us away. I think it's getting harder, much harder than ever before, to predict anything even 5 years down the line. What else, outside of that, what do I think will change? I'd like to hope that what will change is we'll be using AI for purposes like spreading seasonality around. What I'd like to see change is that we stop building more properties which we know are going to be sat empty for 6 months. I find that absolutely abhorrent, because we know that the built environment accounts for between 30 and 35% of all greenhouse gas emissions. Aviation's 3%, and we absolutely have a go at people for flying and make them feel guilty. Well, building stuff that's only going to be used for 6 months of the year is an abhorrent waste of global greenhouse gas emissions. So I'd like to see a little bit more regulation and courage from destinations around Europe in particular on not building any more stuff that's going to be sat empty for 6 months, and instead utilize all the infrastructure that we've got during the low season months, and hopefully spread the economic benefit of tourism around the year, which will be for the good of the people, and hopefully that will elevate more of the population out of austerity / poverty in some cases.
That's a great message to to wind up the debate on. And I'm sorry we have run out of time. I've run slightly over. I think that's testament to the interest of the topics being discussed. But just a reminder to everybody that that we're partnering with ETOA for the Adventure Europe showcase networking event in November. It's online on the 18th of November, and that's all about connecting European and international tour operators, agents, media with European suppliers. So I think a link to that has gone into the chat already. Beth, if maybe put another link in here. Robin, do we have time for any burning questions from the chat? Are there any?
I have not seen any burning questions. I encouraged it though. Everyone seems to be
Okay.
Interested in the call though, in the webinar.
Okay, thank you very much. I will just remind everybody that obviously World Travel Market is coming up. We have our stand there as usual, and we have around 50 of our DMC partners and properties from around the world who will be in attendance. So if you do want to meet with us at the Adventure Connection or with any of our partners, please get in touch. And we also have our infamous networking drinks event, which is bigger and better than ever. That's on Tuesday the 4th. So again, get in touch with us if you're interested in attending. So apologies that this has run on slightly, but thank you. It's been fascinating. Thank you. Do follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and we have fam trips coming up over the coming months, and in the future, more webinars coming up too. And another big thank you from our team to all of you, but also to our team for their input in today's webinar. And thank you very much to our panelists and to all of our guests. I will bid you leave, and please get in touch if you're interested in anything in the future from us.
Bye.
Thank you.